Prime Minister, could you elucidate about the response letter to Crowley about LNG in response to the visit of the Minister of TIAD, Mr. La Cruz and Mr. Gibson to Puerto Rico? And last week you explained that GB has dual fuel and LNG engines. St. Martin has a fuel network. How much money has been reserved to adapt and change this network to LNG?
Your questions are quite technical, so I'll refer those questions in terms of the transition to GEBE. First of all, the first part of the question, we did have a Council of Ministers meeting yesterday, which was delayed for the obvious reasons, as was stated in press briefing. However, the minister updated that, yes, it was a fruitful meeting and follow-up needs to take place with the relevant ministries, because energy doesn't solely fall by TEAT. So it's partially the responsibility of TEAT as well as VROMI, and the necessary persons within the ministries would have to meet to determine the best way forward based on the information received. But of course, it would have to involve GEBE. So there is a energy work group that includes the relevant ministries and NVGEBE. So this will have to be tabled there and then be elevated back to the Council of Ministers. So until that takes place, I have nothing further to say on the matter. I just mentioned last week that since we've been here, GBE has been mentioning that in their planning that they were, let's say, making it possible to transition when and if necessary. They are currently busy with their strategic business plan. So hopefully once that is finalized, we'll be able to have a more concrete plan from GB's perspective on the way forward. What we have is a draft roadmap for the transition to energy, which has several phases, of which solar was the first phase. So GB is committed to work along with us on this, and so I look forward to hearing from GEBE as to the way forward with all the different possibilities for alternative energy, of course ensuring a just transition, and that might be a strange word for us, but ensuring that the transition from heavy fossil fuel to whatever the alternatives are does not jeopardize anyone's possibility to make a living. So a training program would be also part of that to ensure the employees can move from what they're doing now in a phased approach to a more sustainable and renewable energy source, so that, and of course, it has to be affordable. So looking at all those aspects and the funding that is needed, that's also on the table, and all possible sources are being looked into. So until I get an update from NVGEBE and the work group, specifically advice from them, I cannot elaborate further.
Stepped into this beautiful month of November, a time when we see that we are traditionally coming together to give thanks for the many blessings of our lives. It is crucial that we also remember the significance of the month in our fight against domestic violence and gender-based violence. November marks the occasion when St. Martin recognizes domestic violence and gender-based violence awareness as our month, shedding light on a critical issue that affects our society. We urge you to join us in the essential campaign by staying updated on the various awareness events that will be hosted by different foundations and the ministry throughout this month. Together, we can raise awareness and work towards a safer and more respectful community for all. In addition to our commitment to this important cause, we are aware of the challenges that are being faced during your daily commutes. The recent heavy rains have created hazardous road conditions, with streets bearing the scars of erosion, resulting in large potholes. We appreciate your caution and patience in navigating these obstacles and assure you that we are actively addressing the situation. School traffic has long been a concern, and we can see that CAPASM has plans in the pipeline. However, I must advise and clarify that as of Monday, October 31st, 2023, no such scenario has been put into action by CAPASM, contrary to what many may have believed, especially with news articles published to further indicate such. I do believe CAPASM has also put out a statement to indicate that what was published was premature. To address these pressing matters, we have scheduled an urgent meeting today, Wednesday, November 1st, with various relevant ministries. Your input is invaluable, and we take into account your comments, your posts, even your messages that we are receiving as we go forward with these discussions and how to be able to address and alleviate the traffic situation and improve the roads. I must mention that yesterday, my person, along with, as acting Minister of Education, along with the Minister of Finance, who's acting Minister of Romi, we did visit the Oranyo School on Front Street. We had a great opportunity to sit with Mr. Stuart Johnson, representing the Y2 and the teachers. It was a very fruitful discussion. There was a great opportunity identified that there are some some rooms, some office spaces, etc., with air conditioning that are in a better state than the classrooms that the teachers have stood ground that they would want address after so many years. And I feel confident that our news article we've published captures exactly what we discuss and what is actually being executed as we speak. We wanted to be able to ensure that the teachers and the students be removed from the environment of being outside and in front of the school, etc. The children are there for a learning environment, and the teachers are there to be in an environment where they can teach. So we totally hear them loud and clear. I'm very happy that the proposals made by my person, as well as a very great one proposed by Minister of Finance, and I'll let him delve into that if he wishes to, was received positively. And we do have some persons, I believe, at the school currently now doing some assessments to be able to support the transfer of the students and classroom structure from where they currently were situated into those more air-conditioned and more learning environment-friendly spaces. So all in all, I'm happy about what we've been able to achieve, but the minister and I, along with Minister of Education, who's returning to the island today, will be continuing to focus that not just the Oranyo School, but all schools that have been calling for these matters to be addressed, that the requests will be expedited, because education is very important to us and we want the environment to be proper. With that, I'm just going to close by saying that together, let's embrace the spirit of November, a time of gratitude and for standing up against violence. And let us work collaboratively to make our community safer, more accessible, and better for all.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
St. Martin, the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs proudly presents its second Things I Wish My Father Taught Me, a series of meaningful conversations in commemoration of International Men's Day on November 19th. The weekly podcast features several inspirational figures and moderated by Mr. Rishinal Arundel. The topics and guest speakers include mental health featuring Mr. Sharenzli Valis and Mr. Star Peterson, lifelong learning with Mr. Jamal Newton and Mr. Marvio Cooks, Gilders and Sense Presents with Mr. Jude Houston and Mr. Edsel Gums, and Relationships featuring Mr. Alston Lawrence. Things I Wish My Father Taught Me offers a mix of critical reflections and entertainment. Join us every Sunday in November at 8 p.m. via the Facebook pages of the Government of St. Martin and Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs, Tel TV 15, SXM TV Broadcast, TV Carib, and St. Martin Gov Radio 1079. During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emma Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zaker's Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road K Hill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the One Tete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Cooper Coy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the Government of St. Martin.
The marketplace. Last night, a former cabinet staff of TIAT sent out a press release accusing you of holding up funds and holding back the marketplace project, claiming that you're playing politics. I'd like to know exactly who is financing the marketplace project, because based on the press release I got, it didn't say government.
Other part that you mentioned for finance, I believe that misinformation needs to end now. So I was very surprised by the article. It just shows me someone that's desperate for relevance and attention in regarding this matter. This has absolutely nothing to do with me in terms of being paid out, and it also shows that the lack of information that was being distributed within the department that he worked. I highly doubt that the individual worked on any advice regarding the marketplace. I'm pretty much sure that that didn't happen. And second to that, this project isn't a project that started this year. I remember when I came in, I first was a member of parliament. I heard of a project and I saw visuals for marketplace already. So this isn't a project of today. The last person that I had a conversation with in regarding the marketplace was about a month ago, and that was the chief of staff of the cabinet of TIAT. The minister yesterday did update me that he is feverishly working on the marketplace, and he should have something sent to the council of ministers in short. But this is no politics. There's nothing to pay. There's nothing for us to execute. It is not in the hands of the Minister of Finance at all. I want to make that very, very clear.
I remain concerned about the state of the Phillipsburg marketplace, and I am not convinced that this can still be completed before the season. 60 million guilders have been approved as loans for the budgeted capital projects in 2023. And I find it remarkable that the CFT recently had to admonish the Finance Ministry to make haste with the projected capital loans and projects. While the amended budget 2023 is nowhere yet in sight, let alone the 2024 budget, the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin has published the loan offer, and the Minister of Finance has announced most of the projected capital projects, which according to the 2023 budget notes should be ready to go. I want to single out 2 projects as an example that we would have expected that they would have been eagerly announced by name and date. Those 2 projects are, just to mention 2, the Dutch Quarter Improvement Project and the Philipsburg Marketplace. In the capital budget 2023, an amount of 676,800 guilders is mentioned for a vendor's village. And I hope this is the reconstruction of what we know as the Philipsburg Marketplace. What is a concern, nevertheless, is the timing. We are in November, and the high season is around the corner. The government in 2022, one can recall, via an amendment by a coalition MP, removed the capital budget for the Philipsburg Marketplace. Because, as it was said then, the project would be done in collaboration with the harbor, suggesting that the finances for this project would come from the harbor. Successive ministers of TIAT in press reports and such alluded to the agreement with the Royal Caribbean Group to construct the Philipsburg Marketplace. Minister Lambrix, upon taking office, made this project a priority and referred to discussions with the Royal Caribbean Group regarding the marketplace in Philipsburg, a proposed water park, and a boutique hotel. It is heartbreaking to see the vendors, when weather threatens, scuffling to secure their ware. And the questions on the minds of the vendors and on my mind is, where is the budget to construct the marketplace? When will construction start? If construction is to start soon, how will the vendors survive the high season? Mind you, the livelihoods of these persons depend on the marketplace, depend on a good marketplace. I sincerely hope that some temporary solution, such as a big tent or coverage, will be considered, because it is highly unlikely, and I would gladly be proven wrong, that a new marketplace can be constructed, equipped, and put into use before the start of the high season. And I also hope that no stopgap solutions are employed to hide the delay of this project.
You had other problems, like in Ebenezer, a lot of cars parked on the side of the road, making movement of traffic still an issue. Movement of buses a bigger issue. Because if you make it a one-way, you got a problem. So he said, but what about carpooling? Or let's find 5 or 7 locations in St. Martin where the buses go. They park up. The parents all bring their children to the buses. And then the buses drive to the schools. And I said, that's not a bad idea. But we'd have to find those locations where the children can also hide from rain if it's raining. Make sure, for example, that there is somebody there, so when the children reach there, they're not molested or troubled or beaten on. I think it can work if some attention is given to it. I think we can maybe bring down the traffic. I won't say 100%, because a lot of parents want to bring their own child, especially the younger children. So all the primary schools, let's say from the early stimulation schools, you have 2 classes there, and then maybe the first 2 classes. That's still 4 classes. That's still a lot of people. But maybe it's a possibility that can be looked at. I also like the suggestion that I saw that we take youngsters that are presently unemployed and have them work on school buses to also keep the tension on the buses a little in control, that the driver is not being confronted all the time with problems on the buses. I did like that proposal. It's a proposal that will have to be looked at carefully and cost analysis, because you're not putting security guards on board to beat the shit out of the children either. But at the same time, you're putting them there to ensure that the children know a little better which tree to climb.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
As Minister Justice mentioned, yesterday we had a meeting with the management of the Orania School and also the president of the Y2, where the president also brought the concerns of and the plight of the teachers, not only of Orania School, but of all public schools, and the concerns that were understandable, and we addressed those concerns. Right now, as we speak, there are members of the VROMI department assisting the teachers to move all their chairs and tables into the spaces allocated for the students who come back in tomorrow, air-conditioned spaces. We also provided resources for some extra funds. In addition to that, we have expedited the process that the Minister of Education has started in regarding to the cabling. One of the issues is that the school does not have the proper cabling and system, amps from GB, to be able to house air conditioners. So we can't just hook up air conditioners to the school, so a whole infrastructure process needs to start in terms of cabling. That process has started. In addition to that, in our discussions, the president also brought forward that it's not just one school, it's multiple public schools. And then there we finalized, or let's say we started a plan of how we're going to address this. In a couple of weeks, we will have a tender out for air conditions for all the public schools that need. In addition to that, while that is being processed, we'll be looking at the cabling of, in particular, I believe, Ruby La Vega School that still needs cabling. So cabling from the GB aspect, and then still cabling from the main line to the building. So it's two different sets of cabling. So I look forward to this process. We also discussed the state that the school is in. So some urgent repairs that the school needs to have on the roof and some other areas, and all of this will be done, start in a couple of weeks. So I'm thankful also for the cooperation of the management, the union, but of course in particular the parents, the teachers, and the students.
Such a relief to get out after 25 days of relentless bombardments and siege. More than 300 people with foreign passports were allowed to leave Gaza by the Rafah crossing today, including 2 Britons. Their departure approved by Egypt and Israel. Others are expected to leave in the coming days. Ambulances brought more than 80 people with serious injuries for treatment over the border in Egypt. Gazan hospitals are completely overwhelmed, and many thousands will need attention. A few aid trucks entered, but again, the supply comes nowhere near the need. Israel targeted Jabalia, the biggest camp in Gaza, again today, after yesterday's multiple strikes. The Israelis appear to believe that Hamas fighters are still operating in tunnels beneath the rubble. Speaking from an unknown location, the Hamas political leader said the hostages, some also in tunnels, were in danger from the bombing. The Israel Defense Force appears to be treating the north of the Gaza Strip as a free fire zone. It's hard to imagine what Gaza will look like when this is over, let alone the lives of those civilians who survive. And that's the purpose of releasing this footage, to show the might and determination of the Israeli military. Today saw the funeral of 20-year-old Israeli reservist Lavi Lipschitz, killed attacking Jabalia yesterday. A majority of Israelis want to destroy Hamas in retaliation for the atrocities committed on October the 7th. The price, they say, is worth it.